Hello there, my name is Hannah and you are watching Gamers Waypoint. So you might have guessed that this is actually a brand new channel at the point when you're watching this video, so if you have somehow found your way over here, moseyed on over, thank you so much, we appreciate it. We hope that you also stick around because we have some more ideas in the brewing pot, but for today we are going to be covering virtual tourism. Now if you're unfamiliar with virtual tourism, the basic concept of it is just being able to play a video game and experience somewhere that is actually situated in the real wide world out there, which we're not really supposed to be exploring at the moment, but hey, it still exists. So this video is basically 5 of some of the best examples of virtual tourism that you can find in gaming at this moment, at present day. It's not kind of like in order, it's just kind of a best examples list. So if I say a particular game at a certain point in the video and you think that it should be number 1 spot or a blah 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 blah, that's super intelligible, it's not actually ranked. So you can rank these games however which way you choose. I'm just going to be saying them in the order that I wrote the video, basically, but they're all great examples of virtual tourism. So without further ado, let us explore our choices. First on the list is a game that you will probably be expecting, purely because it is an amazing depiction of New York City, Manhattan. Yes, it is SpiderMan PS4. This map is just super extensive. You can web sling your way all the way around all the boroughs, beat up all the bad guys in pretty much any part of Manhattan that you could possibly wish to beat up a bad guy in, which we all have if you've played Spider-Man PS4. If you haven't played it at this point, might I suggest that you check it out. But basically, it is a phenomenal recreation of NYC. You of course have real world places such as Times Square, the Empire State Building, Central Park, but then you do also have some inclusions from the Marvel universe such as Doctor Strange's house and the Avengers Tower, which you will be hard pressed to find in NYC if you go there in actual real life. I have never actually been to New York City. I would like to go just to be able to say that I've been, but it is one of those games where it will definitely teach you about the city before you actually go and visit it. There is another game on this list which did that for me, but yes, I would like to think that if I actually ever get over there, I will be able to look at a particular street corner and be like, yep, definitely threw a lamppost at a thief here. Thank you, Spider-Man. Despite the fact that we're moving on to the next generation of consoles now and PS5 promises that loading times for Spider-Man are pretty much going to be non-existent, it is really impressive to think that with the PS4 architecture and obviously PS4 Pro, which is a little bit more powerful, that it was able to load such a big map pretty much seamlessly, and that it was also able to be so smooth as an experience. So as a virtual tourism destination, it is definitely worth checking out. You don't have to leave your room, it's definitely cheaper than a plane ticket, and I personally don't have to deal with the descent of said aeroplane because that is not my jam. Next up on the list we have the Assassin's Creed series, namely Assassin's Creed Origins and Odyssey. Now the reason that we've picked these two in particular is purely because they bring up little info markers to actually teach you about your surroundings as you are playing. So if you pass a building that is of interest, it will actually prompt you to read about it and, you know, get some knowledge, which I think is actually pretty cool, but then again I'm a little bit of a geek. This isn't just covering pure historical facts either, it will also delve into the realm of mythology, which obviously for the Greco-Romans and the Egyptians was a very integral and important part of their society. So I like the fact that it's been like fully integrated into the game. But then again, I don't feel like they could have not done that because, like I said, it was so important to them. Ubisoft are really great at this anyway, and we will be seeing another example of their great ability to hit the books and do some research. But as I say, this really went to town on recreating, and the thing is that it was obviously slightly more difficult because visual representations of past civilizations are a little bit harder to get hold of, so I definitely commend them on their efforts for this one. Their aim was to be as geographically correct as possible for both games, so despite the fact that obviously not many photos etc exist to be able to aid in the recreation of this, they did as much research as they could, and they looked through the history books, the texts, and tried to painstakingly create what ancient Egypt and ancient Greece would have looked like back in the day, which is just really impressive to me because obviously you can roam around something which is pretty much impossible to fully relive these days. Obviously you have ruins of certain architecture, but it is, as a rule, pretty much impossible to experience it as a whole. So the fact that you're able to virtually go there and experience so much history, to me it's just really great and very impressivo. Like I said, honourable mentions do of course go to previous installments in the Assassin's Creed series, namely Assassin's Creed 2 and Assassin's Creed 3. My favourite Assassin's Creed games are 2, Brotherhood and Revelations, whereby obviously you can explore Renaissance Italy, which is awesome, and then Turkey, Constantinople, or Constantiniye as they say in the game, and then Assassin's Creed 3 covers colonial America, which was also a pretty good representation and possibly one of the saving graces for that game, because let's be honest, Connor's just a bit boring. I really wish that they've fleshed him out a little bit more. Is that a bad term to use when you're talking about a guy with a tomahawk? Anyway, but yes, I did actually find that it was accurate in a lot of ways, and then it helped me a little bit with my first year at uni because I was doing American studies, and yet I was recognising things in class because of playing the game, and then recognising things in the game from attending class. So there you have it, it did actually have quite a bit of use in the end. This next game is a game that is near and dear to my heart, as it is millions of other people, because people are still playing it today. It is going on 7 years old now, so it's getting along, but in some cases you wouldn't think that it's a game that's 7 years old. That is, of course, Grand Theft Auto 5. So obviously the depiction here is of Los Angeles, which becomes Los Santos, City of Saints, instead of City of Angels. And this is the game whereby when I actually went to visit LA, I was able to recognise so much purely from having played the game prior to going over there, and it just really made it blatantly obvious how much effort went into going to recreate it. I know that they'll have still had some character models and research from when they did San Andreas, but obviously that is a game that's like, gosh, 16 years ago now? 16 years old. So obviously everything had to be zhuzhed up. So technical over here. But yeah, I recognise so many places. Some name ones are obviously Griffith Observatory, which becomes Galileo Observatory. You've got the Chinese Theatre, which is called the Oriental Theatre. And of course you have Vespucci Beach, which is Venice Beach, and Santa Monica Pier, which is Del Perro Pier in the game, and they're just like bang on. Like, we started driving through Santa Monica and my eyes must have just like dropped to the floor because I was just like, I know everything, and I'd never actually been there up until that point. So I also hold Rockstar in high esteem because they just did such a great job. Once again, it is also quite a big map, so to be able to fit all that in there, especially for a game that's now 7 years old, I just do find a little bit impressive. I know that architecture in video games has come a long way, especially since the days of, say, Vice City and San Andreas, but it's still a lot to work with, and that's why these games take so long to come out, because all this effort and time has to go into them. But obviously we appreciate it because, as I say, it's still like one of the most played games. I do recognise though that obviously once you drive off into Sandy Shores, the map becomes a little bit more sparse and expansive in the way that there's not much there, so they probably were able to funnel a lot of the processing power into recreating downtown LA, but nevertheless the detail is up there and I appreciate it. It also gets a few bonus points as well for the fact that it recreates In-N-Out Burger, which is one of my favourite burger joints. I do quite enjoy it, and by quite I mean I enjoy it a lot. And that is obviously in the guise of Up and Atom Burger, which, if you haven't noticed this before, look at it, it's really funny because they take some of the normal burgers like the double double and make them just extra ridiculous, like the triple triple and quadruple quadruple. So if you kind of like at the top end of the map for nearly said LA, for Los Santos, check it out because you can see a full menu board and it just makes me giggle every time I see it. Moving on, we are going to be hitting the streets of Kamurocho. That is of course Yakuza 0, which is kind of a smaller representation, which I'll come back to in a second, but bear with me first. I know I'm going to butcher this pronunciation, but I'm just going to read it off to try and minimize how much I butcher it. So Kamurocho is inspired by Shinjuku, which is in the Kabukicho district. So if anybody is Japanese in the audience and can tell me how exactly I should pronounce that, I would appreciate it, because I'm sure it was very English of me. So like a few of our games, it is also set in the past, except not so far back. It's, well, gosh, still like 40 years ago at this point, which is mad to think about, but it's set in the 1980s. And like I said before, it's not as big a map as, say, SpiderMan or Grand Theft Auto 5, but this also plays to its strengths. One, quality over quantity, but two, because it makes it so near identical for the time period, of course, because they were able to just go ham on it, because there wasn't as much of an area to emulate, which obviously big open world games are kind of the norm these days. I really enjoy them, and with the processing power of consoles becoming even more powerful, I went for like an anime character then and it came out French. This is going so well. Obviously that's just going to be improved upon more and more, but there's still something to be said for just like having a really great detailed, slightly smaller map. So obviously they did a really good job. And last but not least, a game which I play purely for the virtual tourism, if I'm being completely honest with you, is Watchdogs 2, and that of course is the representation of San Francisco. So you have the big players such as the Golden Gate Bridge and Lombard Street. You can go down to Fisherman's Wharf as well and go down the piers and look down there. You also just get like little details like the gift shop that's near the Golden Gate Bridge, etc. They do also expand outside of San Francisco. They cover parts of Oakland and the other side, Sausalito of Golden Gate Bridge, which I also commend and liked, because it would have been easy to just do San Francisco as some games have done in the past. I think Driver did it years ago, but they went outside that a little bit, which is awesome and kind of brings it to the geeky moment which I like, which is the Oakland Bridge, which I've been across. It's got like 2 tiers. It's just a bridge, but it's also pretty cool, and I like the fact that they put it in there, but it's just overall very impressive. Obviously more capabilities than if you were to actually go to San Francisco, a lot of hacking going on and blowing up manholes, which is just super fun. But despite it being a fun romp and just kind of obviously an amusing game to play, it is actually just really good for chilling out and driving around and seeing some actual places, which obviously it hits in the feels a little bit more when you've actually been there and can recognise these places. Not everything is exact, because obviously you can't have full-on real-life representations because of copyright laws, etc. But it is damn near close, and I definitely give Ubisoft a pat on the back for that one. There you go, call back. It's Ubisoft that does this one, which you probably knew because you play games. Aha! That's why you're here. Despite the fact this is not really one of my favourite games, I'm not that big of a Watch Dogs fan. I obviously still do like to play it a little bit. I think this might be actually the favourite one of mine on this list if we were ranking them, because I think that they just did such a great job and it's so detailed. And you know, it's nice to just drive around sunny California, which I know you can do in GTA 5 as well, but I don't know, the way that they approached it and went about it is equally as impressive, but I don't know, it just sits in some like special little place in my heart. And there you have it guys, that has been the video. If you've made it to this point, thank you so much for sticking around. I hope that you enjoyed it. If you did enjoy it, I hope that you consider subscribing and staying so that you can see future content, because we do have more videos planned. I know that we're a small channel, but any support at all is really appreciated and really helpful, so that would be really great. Until next time guys, hope that you have a great day. Hope that you continue to join us on our journey, because that would be awesome, and don't stop exploring. This has been Gamers Waypoint, your map marker for gaming entertainment. Thank you for watching, see you later. Bye guys!